Bienvenue chez Examist, votre partenaire de confiance pour réussir vos certifications. Nous proposons des supports d'études complets, en ligne et hors ligne. Et nous sommes là pour vous guider pas à chaque étape. Des guides PDF détaillés aux exercices pratiques bien structurés. Toutes les questions essentielles sont soigneusement couvertes pour vous donner toutes les chances de réussir. Vous aurez toujours les bonnes ressources à portée de main. Téléchargez les PDFs. Faites des tests et connectez-vous à notre équipe d'assistance experte. Avec la pratique interactive en ligne. Entraînez-vous et quand vous voulez. À votre rythme. Nos PDFs prêts pour l'examen sont soigneusement élaborés et régulièrement mis à jour. Des milliers d'apprenants certifiés font confiance à notre qualité et à notre sérieux. Des professionnels qualifiés sont disponibles pour répondre à vos questions. Commencez dès aujourd'hui et donnez à votre préparation l'avantage décisif avec Examist. Visitez Examist.com dès maintenant. Examist. Votre parcours vers le succès commence ici.
Question 1. An administrator adds local administrative accounts to manage the Aruba mobility controllers. MCs. Which role should be assigned to an administrator who needs to only generate reports and monitor WLANs in ports? Option A. Location AP management. Option B. Network operations. Option C. Route. Option D. AP provisioning. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Network operations. Question 2. Refer to the exhibit. Last synchronization time. Thursday, April 13, 07. 42. 48 2017 to master switch at 10. 254. 10. 101. Succeeded WMS database backup file size. 39121 bytes local user database backup file size. 29694 bytes global AP database backup file size. 13375 bytes IAP database backup file size. 3750 bytes airgroup database backup file size. 3052 bytes license database backup file size. 5358 bytes CPSEC database backup file size. 3224 bytes BOSSMGR database backup file size. Periodically. Last synchronization time. 2017-04-13-07. 22. 2019. 20. 24 What can be determined from the command output shown in the exhibit? Option A. The synchronized data is protected by VRRP. Option B. The command was executed on the standby mobility master. Option C. The synchronization period is at its default value. Option D. The other mobility master, is the active license server. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option D. The other mobility master, is the active license server. Question 3. Refer to the exhibit. An administrator supports a RAP at a branch office shown in the exhibit. The company has one mobility controller, MC, at the primary DMZ site and one at the secondary DMZ site. The RAP is configured to connect to only the MC at the primary DMZ site. A network outage with the ISP at the primary DMX site causes the RAP to reboot. Upon reboot, the RAP cannot build a tunnel to the secondary DMZ site MC because the administrator forgot to add the second LMS IP address to the AP group. Configuration. Once the RAP can successfully connect, the administrator can add the secondary DMZ MC as a backup LMS to fix the AP group. What should the administrator implement to allow the RAP to connect to the MC at the secondary DMZ site while the outage at the primary site persists? Option A. Dynamic discovery through DHCP. Option 43. Option B. Static configuration from AP boot mode. Option C. Dynamic discovery through DHCP. Option 60. Option D. Dynamic discovery through multicast ADP. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Dynamic discovery through DHCP. Option 43. Question 4. An administrator supports a cluster of 4 Aruba mobility controllers, MCs, with management addresses of 10, 1, 100, 101, 10, 1, 100, 102, 10, 1, 100, 103, and 10, 1, 202, 181. The administrator accesses an AP associated with this cluster, reboots it and accesses AP boot mode. The administrator executes the printf command, which AP parameter contains the IP addresses of the cluster members that the AP should use to connect to the cluster. Option A. Node list. Option B. Server name. Option C. Master IP. Option D. CFGLMS. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Server name. Question 5. A wire client tries to initially connect to corporate office controller through an intermediate firewall. However, the VPN connection fails. The administrator examines the firewall rules and determines that rules for UDP 4500 and UDP 500 are configured. Which additional protocol must be allowed in the firewall rules to resolve this connection failure? Option A. TCP/22. Option B. TCP/443. Option C. UDP 8200. Option D. ESP. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option D. ESP. Question 6. An administrator has a cluster of Aruba mobility controllers, MCs. The administrator wants to manually reboot one of the controllers. Before rebooting, which command should the administrator use to move the APS? Option A. AP move. Option B. LC cluster move AP. Option C. Active AP rebalance. Option D. Active AP LB. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. LC cluster move AP. Question 7. Which Aruba Unified Communications and Collaboration UCC deployment mode should be used when UCC is disabled on the mobility controllers? MCs. Option A. Heuristics mode. Option B. WMM mode. Option C. ALG mode. Option D. SDNAP mode. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. WMM mode. Question 8. An administrator implements a ClearPass solution to authenticate Aruba wireless users. The Aruba wireless solution is an Aruba OS 8X Mobility Master deployment. ClearPass sends an Aruba VSA role name for an authenticated user. However, the administrator notices that the role assigned to the user is different from the one assigned by the ClearPass server. Which two items should the administrator verify that might be the cause of this problem? Choose 2. Option A. Enablement of user roles on the controller. Option B. Spelling of the role on the ClearPass server. Option C. Server-derived role assignment on the ClearPass server. Option D. Role existence on the managed network. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Spelling of the role on the ClearPass server. Option D. Role existence on the managed network. Question 9. Refer to the exhibit. What is true about the configuration shown in the exhibit? Option A. This is an Aruba OS switch configured for per-user tunneled node. Option B. This is an Aruba OS controller configured for per-user tunneled node. Option C. This is an Aruba OS switch configured for per-port tunneled node. Option D. This is an Aruba OS controller configured for per-user tunneled node. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option C. This is an Aruba OS switch configured for per-port tunneled node. Question 10. Which license type must an administrator purchase to use spectrum monitoring? Option A. RFP. Option B. VMC. Option C. PEFV. Option D. PEFNG. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. RFP. Question 11. A company opens a new branch office and a RAP is used to connect to a corporate office Aruba Mobility Controller. MC. The company needs to provide connectivity to the office across the street. There is an AP across the street. However, there is no wired connectivity between the buildings. Which actions can the administrator select to provide the required connectivity? Choose 2. Option A. Provision all APS at the branch office as mesh points. Option B. Provision all APS at the branch offices as mesh portals. Option C. Implement one of the APS as a mesh point. Option D. Provision the RAP as a mesh portal. Option E. Implement 2 mesh clusters. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Provision all APS at the branch office as mesh points. Option D. Provision the RAP as a mesh portal. Question 12. A customer uses an SEEP application that is not supported by Aruba United Communications in Collaboration. UCC. Which voice deployment mode should the administrator implement on Aruba Mobility Controllers? MCs. To support this application. Option A. Heuristic mode. Option B. SDNAP mode. Option C. COS mode. Option D. WMM only mode. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Heuristic mode. Question 13. A company has a wireless network that contains a cluster of 4 Aruba 7030 mobility controllers. MC. Managed by a mobility master. MM. Located in the data center. The company has APS deployed that are nearing the capacity of the cluster. The administrator wants to increase AP capacity. How can the administrator solve the problem? Option A. Add a new controller to the mobility master. Option B. Add a virtual mobility controller to the existing cluster. Option C. Add a 7030 controller to the existing cluster. Option D. Add a 7220 controller to the existing cluster. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Add a virtual mobility controller to the existing cluster. Question 14. An administrator supports a group of employees that connect to the corporate office using the wire. Client. An Aruba mobility controller. MC. Behind a corporate firewall. Terminates the user's VPN sessions. The VPN sessions fail to establish because of the existing firewall rules. Which connections must the administrator allow on the firewall? Choose 3. Option A. UDP 8202. Option B. UDP 4500. Option C. UDP 8211. Option D. TCP 4443. Option E. TCP 443. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A UDP 8202, option B UDP 4500, option E TCP 443. Question 15. Refer to the exhibit. Under which airwave management platform, AMP, section should an administrator navigate to see the connection status between the AMP and managed device shown in A? Exhibit. Option A. Folders. Option B. APS, devices. Option C. Visual RF. Option D. Device setup. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B APS, devices. Question 16. A group of users on the same floor of a campus residence experience connectivity problems continuously throughout a morning. The administrator suspects that it is a L1 problem with physical interference. What can the administrator do to find the cause of this problem? Option A. Access a controller's spectrum analysis data directly from airwave with quick links. Option B. Access Rapids data from airwave's Rapids section. Option C. Access Rapids data from airwave's dashboards. Under Home. Option D. Access a controller's spectrum analysis data from airwave's dashboards. Under Home. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Access a controller's spectrum analysis data from airwave's dashboards. Under Home. Question 17. An administrator at campus A manages Aruba mobility controllers, MCs. The administrator defines a server group that includes a local ClearPass server and a remote Microsoft Radius server. The ClearPass server has the credentials for users at campus A and the Microsoft Radius server has the credentials for users at campus B. Users at campus A successfully authenticate and connect to the campus A wireless network. However, when users from campus B visit campus A they fail authentication. What can the administrator do to solve this problem? Option A. Enable fast connect on the campus A mobility controllers. Option B. Enable machine authentication on the mobility controllers. Option C. Enable EAP-TTLS with EAP termination on the mobility controllers. Option D. Enable EAP termination on the ClearPass server. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Enable fast connect on the campus A mobility controllers. Question 18. An administrator troubleshoots a roaming problem where a user loses connectivity to the network during the roaming process. To help troubleshooting this problem, which device or devices in a wireless network initiates the roaming process? Option A. Both the client and the controller. Option B. The AP. Option C. The client. Option D. The controller. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. The AP. Question 19. An administrator wants to reduce downtime of the wireless network when controllers are upgraded. Which Aruba OS feature should the administrator implement to reduce the amount of downtime the APS will experience at the time of the upgrade process? Option A. Centralized upgrades. Option B. AP boot mode bypass. Option C. AP fast start. Option D. AP image preload. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Centralized upgrades. Question 20. Refer to the exhibit. The branch office wrap shown in the exhibit provides secure wireless employee access. Because of security concerns, the company's security policy does not allow wireless guest access. Some customers that visit the branch office need internet access. A RAP's Ethernet port 3 is used for wired guest access and port 2 is used for wired employee access. When employees connect to port 2, they are authenticated successfully and split tunnel policy allows them access to both corporate and internet resources from the branch office. Guest users, however, cannot access internet resources on port 3. How can the administrator provide guest users internet access? Option A. Implement client match to handle the employee and guest user traffic correctly. Option B. Implement the multi-zone feature on the RAP. Option C. Configure a bridge role for the wired RAP port. Option D. Create a guest WAP that allows wired RAP port access. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option D. Create a guest WAP that allows wired RAP port access. Question 21. Refer to the exhibit. An administrator implements the multi-zone feature. The administrator sets up 5 zones as shown in the exhibit in this configuration. Zone A has 6 controllers that form a cluster. Zone B has 3 controllers that form a cluster. Zones C, D, and E have a single standalone controller each. A total of 13 VAPs are created across the 5 zones. Aruba Mobility Controllers, MCs. In Zones A, B and C run Aruba OS 8. 1. 1 MCs in Zones D and E run Aruba OS 8. 1. 2. Some APs do not join their respective data zones. What could cause this problem? Option A. The number of controllers exceeds the maximum for multi-zone. Option B. The MCs run different versions of the Aruba OS code. Option C. The number of zones exceeds the maximum for multi-zone. Option D. The number of VAPs exceeds the maximum for multi-zone. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. The MCs run different versions of the Aruba OS code. Question 22. A guest establishes an authenticated wireless session to an Aruba mobility controller. MC. The controller uses a ClearPass server for all AAA functions. Which AAA component disconnects the user when the guest exceeds their allowed duration? Option A. Radius change of authorization. Option B. Active Directory session limits. Option C. Radius authorization profile. Option D. SNMP disconnect. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Radius change of authorization. Question 23. In the web UI of an Aruba mobility controller, MC, where can an administrator generate a tech support file that the Aruba technical support team can use to help customers? Option A. Diagnostics, technical support, system information. Option B. Maintenance, copy logs greater than download logs. Option C. Configuration, system, logging. Option D. Diagnostics, technical support, copy logs. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Maintenance, copy logs greater than download logs. Question 24. A Microsoft Radius server is used to centralize AAA functions by a company. Upon a successful authentication lookup performed by an Aruba mobility controller, MC, the administrator wants to have the Radius server pass back the correct post-authentication role name that the controller should apply to the users. Traffic. Which additional task must the administrator perform for the controller's configuration to implement this process? Option A. Install ClearPass's VSA file on the controller. Option B. Install Microsoft's VSA file on the controller. Option C. Configure the server-derived rules on the controller. Option D. Enable AAA on the controller. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Install ClearPass's VSA file on the controller. Question 25. An administrator needs to support unified communications and collaboration (UCC) in a company's network. The network infrastructure requires the Open Flow Protocol to support SDN-capable applications. Which controller topology meets these requirements? Option A. Zones. Option B. Standalone Mobility Controller. Option C. Mobility Master Mobility Controller. Option D. Master Local. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Standalone Mobility Controller. Question 26. Refer to the exhibit. An administrator sets up a cluster of Aruba mobility controllers, MCs. What can the administrator determine about the cluster from the command output shown in the exhibit? Option A. AP load balancing is enabled. Option B. User load balancing is enabled. Option C. This is an L2 connected cluster. Option D. This is an L3 connected cluster. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. AP load balancing is enabled. Question 27. An administrator defines credentials in the Mobility Master Configuration System section to configure a Mobility Master The administrator then accesses Airwave and adds the in monitor-only mode. The administrator expects Airwave to automatically discover the Aruba Virtual Mobility Controllers VMCs, also managed by the but does not see these under APS Devices, New section in Airwave. What should the administrator do to solve this problem? Option A. Enable automatic device authorization for the group the Mobility Master belongs to in Airwave. Option B. Define Airwave communication parameters for the virtual mobility controllers on the Mobility Master. And then scan for the virtual mobility controllers in Airwave. Option C. Define the Airwave communication parameters on the virtual mobility controllers. And then scan for the virtual mobility controllers in Airwave. Option D. Define Airwave communication parameters for the virtual mobility controllers on the Mobility Master. And have Airwave repoll the Mobility Master. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option C. Define the Airwave communication parameters on the virtual mobility controllers. And then scan for the virtual mobility controllers in Airwave. Question 28. An administrator manages an Aruba wireless network. Users authenticate to the wireless network using PEAP, where their credentials are validated by the controller's local database. The company purchases Android tablets to use with an inventory tracking system. The administrator notices that many of the users of these devices use their normal username and password to authenticate, which allows the tablet to access all resources that the user can access from their wireless computers. This is a security violation. Which Aruba Mobility Controller (MC) feature should the administrator configure to restrict tablet access to a web portal for authentication, where an appropriate post-authentication policy can be applied to these tablets? Option A. Air Match. Option B. AP Fingerprinting. Option C. Server-derived roles. Option D. User-derived rules. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option C. Server-derived roles. Question 29. An administrator has multiple AAA servers, some Microsoft Radius and some ClearPass. When 802.1x users authenticate, The administrator wants to ensure that the authentication requests are handled by the appropriate AAA server. Users enter their username in this format. Username at domain name. What administrator implements to ensure the correct AAA server processes the authentication request? Option A. Server matching rules for the VAP profile. Option B. Server matching rules for the server group. Option C. Server matching rules for the AAA profile. Option D. Server matching rules for the 802.1x profile. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Server matching rules for the server group. Question 30. An administrator suspects that the network drops frames between a wireless client and an Aruba mobility controller. MC. The administrator wants to examine the frames between the AP and the controller to determine if any frames are missing. Which solution allows the administrator to use a protocol analyzer to examine the contents of A802.11 frames between the AP and controller? Option A. Implement bridge mode. Option B. Implement decrypt tunnel mode. Option C. Implement gray mode. Option D. Implement split tunnel mode. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Implement bridge mode. Question 31. Which network components are tracked by Aruba Clarity? Choose 2. Option A. Wireless associations. Option B. DNS lookups. Option C. APN controller health. Option D. WLAN health. Option E. Client health. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Wireless associations. Option E. Client health. Question 32. Refer to the exhibit. An administrator configures policies to allow RAPs to connect to the corporate office and remote users to access resources. Which function does the VPN address pool serve in this situation? Option A. Assigns an inner IP address to the RAP used within the VPN. Option B. Assigns a public IP address that the RAP should use on its internet port. Option C. Assigns IP addresses for remote users. Option D. Assigns a DHCP address pool for the RAP. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Assigns a public IP address that the RAP should use on its internet port. Question 33. When they operate in a cluster, Aruba APS obtain AP group configuration information from which device? Option A. Mobility Master. Option B. Airwave. Option C. ClearPass. Option D. Mobility Controller. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Mobility Controller. Question 34. Refer to the exhibit. An administrator configures a policy for an AP group. Port 3 of a RAP is a trunk that connects to a switch at a branch office. VLAN1 is untagged and VLANs 10 for data and 11 for voice are tagged. The administrator applies an ACL inbound on port 3 of the RAP. How does this configuration affect traffic on port 3? Option A. It filters traffic from VLAN 10 and 11, but allows traffic from VLAN 1. Option B. It filters traffic from VLAN 1, but allows traffic from VLANs 10 and 11. Option C. It allows all traffic from VLANs 1, 10, and 11. Option D. It filters traffic from VLANs 1, 10, and 11. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. It filters traffic from VLAN 10 and 11, but allows traffic from VLAN 1. Question 35. An administrator supports a network that contains Aruba OS switches and mobility controllers. MCs. Restrictive MC firewall policies. Control wireless access. The administrator wants to implement a feature to apply the same MC firewall policies to users connected to the Ethernet switch. Ports. Which Aruba OS switch feature provides this capability? Option A. Port security. Option B. Tunneled node. Option C. IPsec site-to-site tunneling. Option D. VSF. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, port security. Question 36. An administrator purchases a wrap and has it shipped directly to a branch office. The branch office plugs in the wrap and the wrap contacts Aruba Activate. The wrap learns the mobility controller, MC, IP address and connects to it. However, the connection fails. Upon verifying the MC IP address in Aruba Activate, what should the administrator do to allow the wrap connection to succeed? Option A. Whitelist the wrap's IP address on the MC. Option B. Define the wrap's IPsec pre-shared key in Activate. Option C. Whitelist the wrap certificate on the MC. Option D. Configure a VPN address pool in Activate. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, whitelist the wrap's IP address on the MC. Question 37. An administrator has a standalone controller that runs Aruba OS 8X software and wants to upgrade it to a newer release. The upgrade will be performed from the front panel of the physical controller. The administrator places the new software in the root directory of a USB drive. On the controller's LCD panel, no image is found. What is the cause of this problem? Option A. The image must be placed in the upgrade subdirectory. Option B. The image must be placed in the images subdirectory. Option C. The image must be placed in the Aruba image subdirectory. Option D. The image must be performed from the controller's web UI. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. The image must be performed from the controller's web UI. Question 38. What is true about Aruba controllers under normal operations in a mobility master? Mobility controller. MC. Architecture. Option A. The mobility master can push a full configuration to a mobility controller. Option B. ARM must be used to optimize wireless performance. Option C. The APS can terminate on both mobility masters and mobility controllers. Option D. Any controller can perform local configurations. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. The APS can terminate on both mobility masters and mobility controllers. Question 39. Refer to the exhibit. An administrator configures a cluster with only the members shown in the exhibit. AP load balancing is enabled. There are no other cluster parameters configured. What occurs when a cluster member experiences a failure? Option A. High-value sessions are synchronized. Option B. APS and clients are fully replicated. Option C. Connected users are authenticated. Option D. APS reboot and rejoin the cluster. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. APS reboot and rejoin the cluster. Question 40. Refer to the exhibit. Controllers are configured in a cluster as shown in the exhibit. These are the network details. A mobility master. Manages the cluster. The cluster contains two controllers, C1 and C2. AP1 and AP2 use C1 as their active AP anchor controller. AAAC, with C2 as their standby AAC. SAAC. AP3 and AP4 use C2 as their AAC with C1 as their SAAC. User 1 establishes a wireless connection via AP1, where the active user controller, UUAC, assigned as C1, with C2 as the standby. What happens when user 1 roams the wireless network and eventually their session is handled by AP3? Option A. The AP3's AAC switches to C1, and the user's AUAC remains on C1. Option B. The AP3's AAC switches to C2, and the user's AUAC remains on C2. Option C. The AP3's AAC switches to C1, and the user's AUAC remains on C2. Option D. The AP3's AAC switches to C2, and the user's AUAC remains on C1. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. The AP3's AAC switches to C2, and the user's AUAC remains on C2.